Recording in progress.
Further, he launched coding and robotics at Tlhabane Primary, that's near Stellenbosch. He currently serves as a Deputy Chief Education Specialist responsible for coding and robotics in the province of the Western Cape. So together, our guest speakers who have 60 years experience in the education sector, which I believe is quite significant. So ladies and gents, please welcome Dr. Sishi and Mr. Dawn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahlasela. Colleagues, I'm sure we can do a round of applause virtually wherever we are as we usher in Dr. Sishi just to do his presentation. So over to you, Dr. Sishi. I'm not sure if Dr. Sishi can hear me. Oh, there we go. Welcome, good doctor. Welcome. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I'm quite excited. I had a wonderful portfolio when we were being introduced. So I'm sure we're all looking forward to having some wonderful insights from this wealth of experience that you have. So over to you, Doc.
Thank you very much. I hope that you can hear me very well on that side.
Oh, yes, and, loud and clear.
May I take this opportunity to appreciate the introductory comments made earlier on, and may I also request that with your permission, I may proceed with my slide.
Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Randall, let's flight the slides. Well, firstly, once the colleagues are putting on the slides, I just wish to indicate that, speaking on the impact of the fourth industrial revolution on higher education, is really a broad topic if you take into account that when we speak about higher education, we are not just speaking about we're not just speaking about universities, but we are speaking about universities, public and private, 134 private universities, 26 public universities. We are talking about, 50 public colleges, the TVET colleges and 180 private colleges with 9 community colleges as well as 21 seaters. It's quite a broad area, and therefore the impact of the fourth industrial revolution may not necessarily be the same in each and every sector of higher education. And I think it's important that upfront I make this point. It's also important that I indicate that the inequalities that are inherited in the PSET system will determine the context in terms of impact in each of the sector of higher education we are talking about. The contribution to the fourth industrial revolution in the relation to research and innovation is significant if you were to take into account that universities in South Africa, almost 51% of our universities, public universities, will feature very strongly in any ranking of top 500 universities in the world. That begins to tell you that in this corner of the continent, we have a significant depth, in terms of research capacity amongst our institutions that is, acknowledged the world over. So I wish to take this opportunity to greet all the participants, thanking you, Chair, for allowing us to make our contribution. We are going to be providing an overview on how the PSET system is adapting to the demands of the fourth industrial revolution. And the focus is on how policy, institutional capacity, and systemic collaboration are being leveraged to transform teaching and learning, as well as skills development in the country. As the Department of Higher Education and Training, we are the lead department when it comes to skills development in South Africa. We are currently planning a skills summit where we are going to be tabling the revised HRD strategy, as well as the master skills plan for the country. So we begin with the words of Rob Davis, who argued that if we do nothing, our companies and indeed our institutions will lose competitiveness, and that if we embrace new technology, the impact will be transformative. I think you can read from that slide that our emphasis is very largely on the transformation impact of the fourth industrial revolution, or the opportunities presented to us by the fourth industrial revolution to improve and speed up transformation in higher education. This is the context in which we must act, not out of fear, but with clarity and resolve. Those leaders such as Rob Davis and many others have consistently warned that inaction will cost us our competitiveness and social progress. Professor Joseph Aaron, the president of the Northeastern University of Boston, is well known in this sector. He will argue that the fourth industrial revolution requires a new approach to education, one that integrates humanities and technology, one that promotes critical thinking and digital literacy. And these insights have shaped the direction that we have taken in the post-school education and training. And I think as I proceed, you will see, how we have embedded, our initiatives in the pillars that Rob Davis and Professor Aon would have suggested. The white paper on post-school education and training was published in 2013. It remains the foundation stone for sector transformation. It envisions a fair, inclusive, and responsive system. The National Plan for Post-School Education and Training would then seek to operationalize this vision, promoting the expanded access to post-school education and training, workplace alignment, as well as the adoption of a flexible technology-enabled delivery modes, all which are critical for a thriving sector higher education and training system. Program Director, with 343 colleges, as reflected on slide 8 on PSET system in the context, with 343 colleges and 158 higher education institutions, the PSET system has a wide reach. And persistent inequalities and limited digital capacity present challenges in this sector, as I've indicated earlier. In this slide, the 9th slide, we would like to highlight the fact that the priority areas will include digital learning environments that will include the reskilling of lecturers, curriculum reform, and fostering entrepreneurship. Building foundational and competency-based skills such as creativity, collaboration, and problem solving is critical in our sector. Our institutions must and also become more agile in their operational models. Skills such as digital literacy, numeracy and literacy are foundational in this sector. In an evolving labor market, cognitive agility will define employability. The sector is aligned, and it has got to continue to improve in this area, to teaching and learning, to foster, adaptability, flexible mindsets by ensuring that lecturers and students have skills such as the critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, effective communication, and understanding of different cultures and working in a connected environment are some of the important areas that we would like to advance in this webinar. Our slide 12 begins to unpack the findings of the Ministerial Task Team on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The Ministerial Task Team on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, appointed and established in 2019, assessed the readiness of our sector to implement these innovations. And their work has informed critical initiatives that we have embarked upon, such as the curriculum reviews that we have done, skills alignment, and collaboration with the Department of Science and Innovation, and many other departments, as you know, arts and culture, sports and recreation are some of the departments that have a role to play in education as well. Whilst its goal is to ensure that PSET's institutions are well positioned to function effectively in a rapidly changing environment, its purpose was to investigate the capacity of the PSET system. The Ministerial Task Team was set up to embrace the affordances of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, provide the skills that are in line with the needs for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and contribute to the Fourth Industrial Revolution through the research and innovation. Embracing the affordances of the Fourth Industrial Revolution will actually, imply that connectivity across our institutions has improved through partnerships with many of our partners, especially in the private sector. These infrastructure efforts are foundational to expanding online learning. Our department is working with partners to ensure that long-term and sustainable digital access across the system, particularly in rural and under-resourced areas, is crucial. One of our major initiatives is in the area of centers of specialization and centers of excellence and AI integration. In this regard, these centers are being established, especially in TVET colleges, with support from industry partners like Intel, the ETDP CETA, one of our entities, MERCETA, another one of our entities that have really, been pioneers in ensuring that the sector begins to, in a meaningful way, begin to show the direction as envisaged in the white paper on post-school education and training. The department in slide 14 on transforming teaching and learning is driving a shift towards online, blended and multinodal learning across all institutions. This includes digital content development. It includes lecturer support systems, as well as open access to digital learning resources through platforms such as the National Open Learning System, NOLS, and these reforms support inclusive and flexible learning pathways. We would like, by this time, to have had more students accessing the NOLS systems. Progress is noted, but I think it's one area that we are really proud to have initiated, and with more students, being able to access these systems, we are surely going to start seeing the benefits of the innovations initiated. PSET institutions are reviewing their curricula currently to reflect emerging skills demands. This includes inter and multidisciplinary approaches that prepare students for new and evolving occupations, many of which do not yet exist. The medium-term expenditure framework has outlined growth targets that includes we seek to increase the number of TVET colleges that are offering fourth industrial revolution aligned skills from 10 to 50. We seek to scale the digital training for lecturers from 400 to 6,000. These are targets that reflect systemic reforms, but also our determination to not just implement, but to improve access, because physical access is not enough. Quality or access to quality is what is our biggest goal. And I think this is going to be possible only if we strengthen our partnerships with our stakeholders, improve the embeddedness of our system to marginalized young people within the system. And in this regard, the TVET curriculum that is being modernized through the inclusion of robotics and other fourth industrial relevant content is a point of reference. Collaborations with GIZ and others are introducing modular and workplace relevant learning that integrates technical, digital, and green economic skills. The department is supporting flexible learning through short courses and investigation, of the use of micro credentials, within these sectors, working with SAQA, but also working within the family, of nations, that are involving fraternal organizations with our department. The department is supporting flexible learning through short programs and investigating use of micro-credentials. And these are available for upskilling and reskilling in a dynamic economy. And the goal is to produce more than 30,000 artisans annually, which is aligned to the needs of our industry and, and society. Skills development is important to our department. Our key output, especially in TVET colleges, work towards combating, poverty. So the sponsorship by industry, including CETAs of the Fourth Industrial Revolution Centers of Excellence is intended to support upgrading of training facilities, workshops through acquisition of tools and equipment that is related to the Fourth Industrial Revolution. I'm not going to go into too much details in this regard, but it is very clear that our TVET colleges and their capabilities and facilities will be enhanced to provide students with training and equipment so that lecturers, have, improved capabilities in terms of the required pedagogies that provide or is provided through online teaching and supporting of students. Our universities have also contributed significantly in this regard. And I think that their role is well published, and their contribution to the fourth industrial revolution in the space of research and innovation, particularly by initiatives led by Wits University, where there are several projects already, playing in the space, and where the emphasis is on transformative tech for healthcare and some of the VET's big data projects, which includes, exploring some of the human rights, ethical and moral questions pertaining to robots and sentient beings. Television pay station providers like Multiple Choice South Africa and the University of Pretoria have announced partnerships to develop and sustain scarce artificial intelligence and specifically machine learning technology skills in the country through sponsorship of a research chair in machine learning at the university. And we are quite interested in this. And innovation transformation at the University of Johannesburg and its partners have extended to Google Maps, and which sometimes have has in put pressure on the sector to improve in these areas, particularly dealing with understanding indigenous names of streets and places, and we are making progress and still in these areas. Our contribution through research and through these universities would also suggest that the sector is exploring data science and AI to improve student success, tools that predict academic performance and also that can guide interventions and reduce dropout rates and support evidence-based planning across our institutions. Chairperson, allow me to conclude by indicating that the fourth industrial revolution offers the post-school education and training sector with a rare opportunity to reinvent itself by embedding digital literacy, encouraging innovation, and fostering public-private collaboration. We can bridge inequality and ensure relevance if we strengthen partnerships and if we improve collaboration. The transformation is underway in our sector, but we need to work to ensuring that continued investments, commitment, and policy coherence are achieved. These are essential. Embracing affordances of the fourth industrial revolution is no longer optional. It is critical to the future of our education system and our society. And initiatives such as this webinar continue to strengthen our hand in this regard. The time to act is now. Education in the fourth industrial revolution is not just about technology. It is about transformation, it's about access and the future of our society. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sishi. Colleagues, that was a wonderful and comprehensive presentation. And indeed, the time is now. It's not an optional matter, but it feels for the learners that are coming into the workforce. So thank you so much, Dr. Sishi. And colleagues, if there are any questions that are posed to Dr. Sishi, please use the Q&A. And if we can't get to it on this platform, there will definitely be a written response to all questions. So please feel free to ask any questions in Q&A. So thank you so much, Doc. Now I would like to welcome my colleague, Mr. Ashric Don, all the way from the Western Cape. So over to you, Mr. Don.
Mute. Good afternoon. It's too early. Good morning, colleagues. I hope you guys can hear me.
Loud
Let
and
me
clear.
just sort out my camera as well.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so colleagues, it is a privilege to be here in exchanging, in talking about how we're going to tackle 4AR, moving into 5AR from a educational perspective. As you know already, coding and robotics is already a gazetted subject, which address many of the 4AR core skills that we are currently facing. So my name is Ashric Don. I am from the Western Cape Education Department, and we're going to discuss how we can bring 21st century skills into all our classrooms nationwide. Now, the question that we ask is why is 4AR important? And, by 2030, 85% of jobs will need digital skills. Automation, AI, and robotics are not just changing jobs, but is currently reshaping how countries compete. And if we don't act, we risk preparing learners for a world that no longer exists. And we all are aware of our current unemployment rate as well. Now, curriculum shift is needed. A new way of learning is needed. Mind shifts are needed. We used to teach facts, theory. Now we need to teach learners how to think, solve problems, and create. Now, coding and robotics shift learning from passive memorization to real-world problem solving. Other countries are already embedding AI literacy, coding, robotics, computational thinking from grade 1 to grade 12. We must, or must I say reframe, we must move urgently from pilot to policy to practice. Now, when we look at the coding and robotics curriculum in the three core strands, which is coding, robotics, and digital concepts, just within that three strands, we touch on 4AR and 5AR. And in the core competencies that we need for our learners is logical thinking, problem solving, computational thinking, design thinking. And these are not just technical skills. They teach resilience, creativity. And I think very much important is a growth mindset. Now, coding fosters problem solving and innovation. AI literacy must now also be considered a foundational alongside coding and robotics. Now, I just have a proposal, seeing that we already have digital concepts as a strand within our coding and robotics curriculum. We can then just plug AI literacy within that strand as well. I think that is something that we need to consider as well, just to make sure that we stay abreast with the rest of the world. Now, I just brought up this slide just to touch on one of those core competencies, and that is computational thinking, and why it is so important for learners to be introduced and develop computational thinking. Now, in simple terms, it's a problem-solving framework. You learn to decompose, identify patterns, apply abstraction, and create an algorithm, a set of steps. But with coding skills, we create software, your apps that you have, your phone, robotic skills. And that goes into where we go into this new world of self-driving cars. All of these skills become prevalent within computational thinking, where kids need to solve these kind of problems. And then built into that is AI skills. And this is where we look at algorithms, and that comes from coding, that comes from robotics, where these skills will be developed and can be developed if kids are introduced to these core concepts of computational thinking, design thinking, thinking for themselves, finding things and seeing a problem, and then figure out how can I solve that problem. Now, when we look at implementation, and I think this was a question that nationally, when we talk about coding and robotics, is when will it happen? Now, last year, 2024, June 2024, coding and robotics was gazetted as an official subject. This year, 2025, we are piloting this curriculum. Now, in the Western Cape, we are running PLCs, and we have adopted a blended model in terms of our training. We are face-to-face and online. And that is currently in progress based on the new adapted curriculum. And then implementation is set for 2026 for foundation phase. Looking at grade R3, and just to note, within the foundation phase, the emphasis was on unplugged coding, which resolves around problem solving. And then from 2027 to 2032 will be a gradual implementation process. So 2027 will only be grade 4, then grade 5, and so we will move slowly on. That is just on the implementation. Now, let's have a look at some real impact, but is currently we can actually celebrate from our learners. Now, we have one of our first public schools, Cape Academy. They went to the FTC World Championship in Houston, USA, to represent us in, let me say, is the World Cup of coding and robotics. Then we also have one of our learners from Westbank Primary School, Westbank High School, Fanolia April. A beautiful story. I want to quickly, it's 30 seconds. I'm going to quickly play the clip from the specific learner. She's from the rural district in the West Coast.
Good day. My name is Fanolia April. I'm the former learner of Westbank Secondary School, also the former captain of the robotics team called Innovatrix. And I just wanted to thank the Sakikamva Foundation because it helped me realize my purpose and what I wanted to pursue as a career. I finally decided to pursue a career in mechanical engineering, and I've thankfully been accepted into the University of Stellenbosch.
Now, this is some real impact through coding and robotic initiatives. And in this ecosystem, it's not just WCD, but it's actually collaborating with NGOs, other service providers within this ecosystem. And this learner started 2023 in grade, I think it was grade 11 when she started. Now imagine if we can get our learners from grade 1 then walk that same journey to grade 12. Imagine the kind of learner we will have. And this learner is starting this year as a first year, starts studying mechanical engineering. Then we have various hackathons, and it was developed in-house through WCD, through our own human resource, where we expose not only our metros, but very important, our rural learners as well in 2024. Now, momentum is real and measurable. Just to give an overview of the current ecosystem at a glance, and there's more, and I couldn't capture everything just because for the sake of time. But teacher and leadership capacity, that is key. And we have trainings and processes across multiple levels, from our educators, officials. Also, we focus on lead teachers, preparing to not just centralize but decentralize training so that you can reach more. We're currently also looking at, we have a massive amount of clubs in teams in our ecosystem, and it's just growing year by year, and they compete in various competitions. So it's about over 700. Their total is not a set total, is more than 722. And then we have a focus where we start not looking just at coding and at robotics in isolation, but also looking at STEAMAC, which is a provincial imperative to look and see at the whole STEM, from maths, science, engineering, agriculture, coding. And these 17 STEAMAC hubs is there to be centers of excellence, where these schools then can host other schools, when these schools also are schools that is currently piloting the coding and the robotics curriculum. Then community and engagements is very important. We have various competitions, tournaments happening where parents are invited and they are there, but also special initiatives like Tangible Africa with the libraries within the Western Cape. I think about 114 libraries and over 440 learners participated last year on the Coding for Mandela initiative as well. Let me just quickly move on quicker. Skills, and when we talk about, and I listened to Doc in the previous session, our skills and jobs for the future, just a quick overview of what we can expect. Our kids is stepping into a field where there is unknown to what is expected, and just from the Economic Forum, by 2030, about 170 million new jobs will be created globally, offsetting about 92 million of these jobs. Equity and inclusion. Now, with the coding and robotics curriculum, this was one of the core things. That's why there is Unplugged built in from grade 1 to grade 3, and then gradually building with technology from grade 4 to grade 9. And just from a point of call to action for all our role players, infrastructure is important. Resourcing is crucial. Training of teachers is crucial. And I've put in AI literacy in there as well. But above all, we need to work this collaboratively in partnerships with private sector as well. We can't do this alone as an education department. And thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Dr. Safile.
Mr. Don, thank you so much, Puti. Really appreciate this wonderful presentation. And we're always looking forward to collaborating. And I think, provinces have got similarities in terms of wonderful opportunities and also challenges. Maybe we've got challenges that you have solved that maybe we could, shape best practices But thank you so much, Mr. Don, for this wonderful and comprehensive presentation. Again, to those that are in attendance, please do make sure that you pen over to our Q&A if there are any specific questions. Mr. Don will be part of our panel, so if there are any questions pertaining to his presentation specifically around coding and robotics or any other e-learning initiatives that has been cited as happening in the Western Cape, please feel free to post those questions and then we'll be able to facilitate that later. So colleagues, before I introduce our next speaker, let me just reintroduce myself. My name is Esetu Stofile. I am the Chief Education Specialist out here in the Eastern Cape in the e-learning unit. And I was quite excited to hear Dr. Sishi and also Mr. Don's presentations because it looks like we are all aligned. So our strategy here in the Eastern Cape, in terms of our focus, is that we are trying to ensure that everything that we are doing, it's done to leapfrog inequalities. So we're trying to leapfrog inequalities, the digital divide and the likes. So there has been a commitment in our province, to try and ensure that there is a lot more investment in terms of digitization of systems. So part of our strategies in terms of, we've got a couple of focus areas in the Eastern Cape. It's the first one being our primary focus is transforming teaching and learning methodologies. So here we are even looking at the e-pedagogy. How is it that we are empowering our teachers who are teaching the learners? So this is part of the professional development framework that is done by our teacher development unit. We are looking at also the promotion of these critical thinking skills and information literacy. So you'd hear that there's a lot of comparison between us and other provinces because we are all following the same e-education strategy that has been gazetted by DBE. As the Eastern Cape, because of our unique set up in terms of our ecosystem, we have a lot of rural schools. So part of our investment in e-technology is to ensure that we are looking after the poorest of the poor, the completely remote environments whereby there is no connectivity. So our solutions are geared towards a hybrid approach, online and offline capabilities. So we've built a studio here in East London where we are doing live streaming of lessons, and also we are curating and editing videos that then we localize so that schools, even in the rural areas, they're able to benefit from some of our lead teachers here in the province. So we are committed to building a robust digital education ecosystem by working collaboratively with curriculum and also our IT department. So we've got a lot of technical expertise in-house. We're trying to ensure that we don't outsource work. We're trying to build systems in-house. So with those few words, colleagues, I would like to then ask if I could introduce our next speaker, Dr. Belinda Matebese. So Dr. Belinda, I would like to usher you onto this platform. Dr. Belinda will be speaking on behalf of the CSIR, and I think she's got some wonderful things that she wants to show us. So Dr. Matebese, are you ready for us?
Yes, thank you. Morning, and thank you, SA2, for that wonderful introduction. As you mentioned, my name is Belinda Matebese. I'm from the CSIR Pretoria campus under the manufacturing cluster. CSIR has 9 clusters, and under the Center for Robotics and Future Production. I think thank you very much for the guest speakers. As you mentioned, everything is aligning, I think, with everyone and what the CSR as well is trying to achieve through the Learning Factory initiative. So just a brief, before I play the video. So the CSR Learning Factory is dedicated in bridging the critical gap between academic knowledge and real world application in 4R technologies. And we recognize the importance of providing access to or exposing people to 4R technologies, not only in their higher education, as we initially, I think, aimed and industry, but also through early or youth or end user, which is the existing workforce exposure. So we have a lab here at the CSIR in Pretoria, the Learning Factory, where we offer different resources designed to equip individuals with 4R skills. These also include introduction modules. I think will share the link to that. This is basically introductory modules where anyone can follow through, and also we have short videos. The idea is to expose people to the knowledge or even the simple terms of 4IR when someone is talking about robot, so that everyone can understand the robot is not only it's not a traffic light, but it refers to other machinery, I think, as most of people would know. And also we have a different concept like your bespoke learning factories, which will speak to a physical facility similar to the one that I will show in the video, but that one can be customizable to the stakeholders need, be it in the TVET or be it in the industry. And I think from what the other speakers mentioned in terms of, we also have mobile learning factory concept. So this concept is making sure that schools in the rural areas, or it can reach communities that are far from the cities, so that they can also be exposed to some of these 4R technologies as part of an outreach, introducing learners to hands-on experience, say in artificial intelligence, robotics, or additive manufacturing like 3D printing and so. So this can support or help in engaging or sparking an interest in the STEM field, helping students to explore potential for a career path as well in the basic education, and ensuring that they even in remote location, individuals can have opportunity to participate in digital economy. So with that, I'll ask, I'm not sure who's in control of the buttons, if they can play the Learning Factory video. So this video is basically gonna show the facility that we have in Pretoria, and just to give people a glimpse of how the CSIR is equipping or can equip individuals with necessary skills in creating a supportive economy or ecosystem, and how we are committed in building more inclusive and future-ready South Africa. Thank you. I'll pause from here. Let me mute myself.
The fourth industrial revolution is the digital transformation of manufacturing, production, and related industries. It is a new way of organizing and managing industrial value chains. It has heralded the transformation of entire systems of production, management, and governance. Digital transformation has also caused a transformation of the skills landscape, and it is critical that we empower our workforce to access the requirements and opportunities that this transformation brings. To support South African industries and the broader workforce, that includes the youth and unemployed, to participate optimally in the opportunities embedded in the fourth industrial revolution, the CSIR has established a learning factory with the express aim of driving skills development in those disruptive technology domains that are the building blocks to advance manufacturing and future production. The digital transformation themes include the Internet of Things, digital lifecycle management, augmented reality for supplementing human operation, totally integrated automation and robotics additive manufacturing, smart systems for smart infrastructure cybersecurity, big data analytics, simulation, cloud computing, and edge processing. Training is multi-module, some online, some a hybrid of virtual and hands-on, and caters for varying levels of technical competence requirements. The customizable learning path spans theoretical concepts, practical engagement with the various technologies, application of the technologies to controlled industrial scenarios, and experiencing use of the technologies in real production environments. Master site of the learning factories fitted with different workbenches for the different learning activities. Locally sourced technologies are used as far as possible. This includes state-of-the-art infrastructure for smart manufacturing, human-centered automation, collaborative robotic systems, augmented reality platforms, and a smart house scenario. The modularity of the Learning Factory allows access to additional equipment and facilities distributed across the CSIR, as well as at industry across the country. Other facilities at the CSIR that are also accessible include the Photonics Center, where 3D printing platforms like Aeroswift are being developed. Other examples are in the Chemicals Cluster, where we are supporting the Biomanufacturing Industry Development Center with the application of 4IR technologies. Another key module is the Casting Technology Center, which supports industry in the optimization of casting processes.
We foresee that the Learning Factory will be used by technologists and engineers, but also trainers who need to pass the learning to others. Because the content is at different levels and in different themes, participants can select specific modules. They can join us here or do the work on their own speed online. It is the CSIR's way of supporting South African industry and the knowledge or knowledgeable economy. The first curriculums were rolled out in early 2022 and were flooded with inquiries and enrollments. We take this as an indication of the need for more skills development on fourth industrial revolution technologies.
The course curriculum is presented in different modules to cover topics such as the 4IR and Industry 4.0, technologies of Industry 4.0 that enable human-centered automation, application areas within various industrial sectors, as well as challenges and opportunities in the South African context. Training content is being continuously expanded based on industry needs, and technologies already covered include aspects of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, robotics, additive manufacturing, the Internet of Things, big data analytics, cloud computing and edge processing, system integration, digital twinning, simulation, cyber security. For more information about the training modules, visit 4irsa.co.za.
Thank you. Thank you, Seti. I think that was about it from the video.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure there would be a lot of interested people in asking to visit the center out there in Pretoria. Thank you so much, Dr. Matebese. Colleagues, I think we are currently done with the first round of presentations. So I would also like to just ask you to not forget to put your questions in the Q&A so that we're able to field these questions over to our panelists. So now this leads us then to the next section, which is the introduction of our panel members. So I think Dr. Sishi is, he has left. So we are going to have 4 panel members, and that will be Mr. Tlhabane from DBE. It will be Mr. Ashric Don from the Western Cape Education Department. It'll be Dr. Belinda Matebese, and then we will also have Ms. Gabi Immelman from Mindjoy. So maybe we can just have maybe greetings and warm welcome remarks from Mr. Tlhabane and Ms. Gabi in that order, please. And then I'll get started maybe with just a first round of questions to everyone, whilst I also look at the questions that might have been posted by our attendees. So if you are in attendance, please feel free to ask any question that you'd like to pose to our panel members. And I'll also be fielding some questions on my side. I noticed that there are questions that have been specifically cited towards Dr. Sishi. So these we will get a representative from DHAT to write a written response since he is not on the panel this morning. So can I ask Mr. Tlhabane just to greet and just tell us how he's doing out there in Pretoria? Mr. Tlhabane, I don't know in. Could I ask Gabi, would you like to get started whilst we're trying to locate Mr. Tlhabane?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Hello, colleagues. I am very honored to be here. I'm Gabi, the founder and CEO of Mindjoy, and we are building a STEM platform that is AI native. And we've been doing so before ChatGPT came out and caused havoc amongst all learning organizations. But really what we've been interested in is solving the STEM throughput problem that Ashric so eloquently referred to. That's very much our why in terms of how do we make sure that young people all the way from primary school through university are building the relevant and necessary skills through an AI first learning experience in partnership with educators. So that's just a little bit about me, and hopefully I can contribute some stories from the field. We are working with some of our best universities in the STEM skills, you know, in your engineering faculties, in our maths and business schools. So along with some really innovative schools across the country in the K-12 space. So we're really here to represent and celebrate the educators that are taking strides.
Okay, no, thank you so much for that, Gabi. So colleagues, I'm trying to locate Mr. Tlhabane, but we should get started and then he will join. Could I ask if there's anyone else who's representing DBE? I see that, I think Mr. Henry Kavuma. I don't know if Mr. Kavuma, are you in? Okay, so colleagues, first question that I would like to maybe pose to the whole panel. I think maybe whoever has got the strongest appetite for this question, you can come right through. My first question, I think it is also maybe to land to what I've seen on one of the webinar chat by Michael. Question is, how is the South African education system currently positioned to leverage the opportunities and address the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution? So how do you see our education system currently positioned in order for us to start leveraging on these opportunities for the fourth industrial revolution? Don't know if I should maybe ask Mr. Don. Mr. Don, would you like to take a stab at this?
Definitely. And I absolutely love this question. You know, many people would say Africa, South Africa, we can't compete globally. But if we look what we have created and established within the coding and robotics curriculum, in what is happening within the AI development space with Gabi and various other service providers within our space and the South African companies, I think we have the tools to actually change our education system with what we currently have in place. I think what is currently needed is financial backing and prioritization of bringing 4AR, 5AR into the classroom and changing it in a systemic way, not at the end of the school year in grade 12 or grade 11, but actually a systemic change, and it will be investment over long term. So we're changing a generation, and we have the tools, we just need the funding to do it. Then we can actually do it. Thank you.
I'd like to add to what.
Thank you so much, Mr. Don. Go ahead, Gabi.
Sure. I just wanted to add to what Ashric was saying, which is we do actually have all the necessary ingredients currently in our country for rapid transformation. And I think that requires us to have a very clear view on why we're doing it and which problems we're trying to solve for. You know, if we're all pulling with in opposite directions in terms of what we actually think the outcome is that we're working towards. I think we may stumble, but we've got this gazetted curriculum. We have a massive emphasis from government on skills development. We've got partnership with private sector, all wanting to provide the jobs, ensure our young people are skilled in the right ways and meeting the demand and the opportunity that comes with a massive technological shift. Because I think that's also one of the really, really important things to acknowledge is that we are busy going through a massive technological shift with AI, and we don't really know how that plays out fully. What we do know is that people are able to stay abreast, or embrace taking an open, growth mindset, staying abreast, just acting with extreme agency, and experimenting and playing with the technologies to really understand their application. And I should also mention this, but accelerating from pilot to scale, you really want to focus on impact. And this requires us to take a measured approach to implementation and use cases, and efficacy matters more now than ever. So in the realm of teaching and learning, if we're taking going all the way back from what skills do we need and how do we prepare young people, we need to adjust our approach to teaching and learning to mirror that of industry. And then we need to make sure we can measure the impact. So I think efficacy matters now more than ever.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Gabi. Dr. Matebese, would you like to have any maybe inputs from your side as CSIR?
Right. Thank you. I think from the CSR point of view, I think through the initiatives such as the Learning Factory and other programs that we have, I think what we've also noticed is collaboration with industry and the Department of Education, and also with the communities and the schools that might be affected, or even the community for that matter, that might be affected by the 4R or the shift of the 4R. Because I think the other nice thing about the future workforce is like they are tech savvy, so using technology to teach them, or making teaching and learning, like the other panel members mentioned, to be more relevant and engaging to them, and moving away from the traditional ways. I think we can achieve more in terms of the 4R space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, I would like to pose the next question. This one is from Michael. And I will also add a little bit of substance to this from my perspective. The question is, at what point do we need to focus on the curriculum / structure of education and whether it is outdated? Because with the introduction of AI, we offer the first chance to provide true individualized learning to students compared to teach to the middle, required for large class sizes. We seem to be a little too focused on the introduction of coding and robotics, which is a tool and a reform of the current teaching methodologies. What's your take on that one?
Is that one? Can I take this one?
Go ahead, Mr. Don.
I love this question as well. When we talk AI, and I understand with personalization of it, that is the one of accelerating learning. But we also need our learners to fully understand how AI work And when we look at coding and robotics in terms of what is being developed, what is being developed is critical thinking. Um, what is being developed is how to solve a problem, how to identify a problem, how to build systems. So with AI as well, if our kids know how to create that algorithm, then also how to create the bot that action certain things as well. I mean, then we have creating a powerful group of learners that will not just be uh, let's say content let's say my word is now missing here. I'm looking for content creators, but also just be there to create new things through coding, through robotics, because all things is currently changing in the world. If we look at where we're at now and what's happening in China, in America, in all of those countries, then if we look at where we are as a third world country, South Africa, we have the tools. We don't have to stand back. It's just in terms of implementation and getting the right infrastructure. I think that is for us important. Is infrastructure is a massive constraint in terms of that. I'm gonna stop there, Ms. Dr. Stofile.
Thank you, Mr. Don. I think
I'd like
Gabi.
to add to just also what Ashric has said, and to address the question, which is also, I think, there are two parts to this, which is one, as Ashric said, there's the accelerating of learning. AI has the tremendous potential. Like, I think one of the things we need to go is that in South Africa, the reality is that many of our grade 5 maths teachers, right, or cannot even pass a grade 5 or grade 7 or matric maths exam. Okay, that is the reality. And now we have technology that can do university level, PhD level maths. That is the opportunity. And so really, if we want to solve the problem from first principles, we want to say, okay, well, how do we leverage very, very knowledgeable technology so that our young people benefit from that? That is really the question we should be asking. And as a former teacher, we also have to put our own fears aside and say, you know what, maybe the maths, the tutor, an AI, LLM can perform maths better than me. But what can I do? How do I reframe my role in the classroom to be able to leverage this technology for my own benefit, to being a great teacher in this whole new world, because that's the opportunity, but also to do right by our students. So that's actually where, you know, the world in which we're playing. And then Ashric mentioned there's another thing, which is there's a big debate going like, well, are software developers going to, is the role of software going away, or the role of being able to do maths or that kind of thing, in a world where AI can generate very good programs. And I think there's something interesting there, because programming is fundamentally not about generating boilerplate code. It's about problem solving. It's about thinking through, critical thinking. It's about being able to leverage technology. Now, that's not going to go away. You know, the same way as being able to do basic maths or being able to read are still fundamental skills. This is a new form of literacy. And so, you know, we really, really need to focus on our implementation and our integration of these skills holistically across our subjects. But also, you know, there's two things. You don't want just AI literacy or coding and robotics literacy, because that's just to know about the car and how the car drives and that cars can go from A to B. We want mechanics, right? We want AI skills, and we want math skills, and we want tech integrated skills in our young people, so that they can build engines, they can take engines apart, and they can invent the next engine that's going to take us places. So that's how I think about those two things.
Thank you so much, Gabi. As I introduce Mr. Kavuma, welcome to you, kind sir. I trust that you're doing well, and thank you so much for joining. Maybe can I ask a question to you, Mr. Kavuma, as you introduce yourself today? So maybe my question would be, what national level policies and strategies are in place or being developed to integrate 4IR technologies and these concepts in education? Maybe just as our big brother at TBE, can you just give us an insight in terms of what is currently being developed or what already exists in some of these strategies, in order for us to integrate this 4IR in education? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Stofile, and everybody on the call. Good morning. From the DBE perspective, in terms of the policies and the strategies that are in place that would enable us to leverage on technology and improve the quality of teaching and learning, or improve the quality of how we provide services as the education department. We all know that there is a policy in place that is the white paper on e-education that was developed in 2004. I'm sure everybody will agree with me that by now that is more or less it's like a dinosaur now, with the new developments and emerging technologies which have come up over time, and the various policies from the different departments, as well as the UN, as well as UNESCO, and so on and so forth. We need to keep pace with that. So what we have done as the department is that we need to develop a new policy that speaks on how we can leverage technology in education generally, how we can leverage digital technologies to improve the quality of education. But before we get to that, because it takes time to develop a policy, what we have done is to develop a strategy, a comprehensive strategy that we are calling the Digital Education Transformation Strategy. And that strategy is aimed at leveraging technology and transforming basic education in various aspects, not just teaching and learning, but in various aspects, in terms of administration, in terms of how we administer our examination and assessment, in terms of teaching and learning. But we go beyond that as well in terms of making sure that we develop digital citizens who are able to navigate the digital era and be productive, not only consumers, but productive. So currently the draft strategy is almost complete. It's just remaining with presenting it to management to seek their approval and guidance in terms of how we then implement it, because this is the strategy that is going to be used by provinces across the board nationally in terms of how they implement not e-education. Now we are calling it digital education, not just e-education, digital education among schools. I don't know whether I should just stop there. But also, probably I need to add something very quickly, Dr. Stofile, is the fact that it's not about just the digital education strategy, but there are other initiatives that have been undertaken by DBE, like, for example, the introduction of the three-stream model, in order to diversify the learning pathways. Because our learners, of course, they have different talents, and therefore we need to give them an opportunity for their talents to flourish in the space that or in a pathway that is suited to that or that supports that. We have the academic pathway, the vocational pathway, and the occupational pathway. So all these are interventions by the department to make sure that our learners actually. Our learners are talented, but we need actually to provide them an education that actually is adapted to their talents, or that actually speaks their talents, but not only their talents, but also to the digital era. I think I'll stop there, Dr. Stofile. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Kavuma. That was very well. I think I love the idea that it's not like there's an absentia of policies, but there is already existing policies and even new ones to renew the ones that had already been established in the South African context. I'm currently being provoked by a question here on the chat. I think this is by a prof from the University of the Western Cape. And this question, I think maybe if I could ask Dr. Matebese for this one. The question goes as follows. Given the persistent systemic inequalities in our education system, how does one ensure the development and implementation of these 4IR technologies in education do not further entrench existing disparities between the haves and the have-nots? So instead of it promoting equitable access and participation for learners and educators, so what strategies are you at as the CSIR when you're developing your 4IR technologies in order for this type of intervention not to create a further disparity between the haves and the have-nots?
All right. Thank you for the question. I think I did mention it before. At the CSR, we look into the whole ecosystem or collaboration within looking at different stakeholders or key roles in making sure that the 4R technologies or skills that is needed for the future jobs are key. So by that, we do have strategies or frameworks where we look into if you are working, if there's a TVET, for instance. I think the first guest speaker mentioned about the centers of excellence. How can that benefit that TVET? Not that only the TVETs, but how can they work with the universities and the communities around that? So I think for us, the key is collaboration and not working in silos. And I think we've seen a lot of 4R initiatives that are happening around the country, but you find out these initiatives don't speak to each other or they don't leverage each other. We are repeating what the other initiative is doing. So we see ourselves as facilitators in leveraging and convening not only the technical expertise or the training in terms of the 4R, but also the soft skills, as I think Mr. Ashric mentioned, to say you would need the kids to be able to be critical thinkers, to be able to design and think on their own, to be able to be innovative in this space. I'm not sure if I answered the question. Thanks.
Okay, no, thank you very, very much. There is a follow-up question, I think, from some of the comments that Mr. Don and Gabi made, where the question is around the ethical and responsible use of AI by young learners. So what measures are put in place in order for us to ensure that there is an ethical and responsible use of AI by learners, particularly in ways that safeguard their rights, their privacy, and development? So maybe we can all just contribute to this question. Maybe we can start with Mr. Don, and then we can ask Gabi, then Mr. Kavuma, if there's anything that might have been left out from a policy perspective. So over to you, Mr. Don.
Thank you, Doctor. And I think this is such an important question, and when we move into this AI space in ChatGPT, in all these LMS models, kids is exploring with it and playing with it. And I think this is where digital, and not just digital, but AI literacy comes in. This is starting from the educator, the learner, but also don't exclude the parents. We need AI literacy so that the teachers can know what is the do's and don'ts, to be transparent, to be accountable. What is the options you need to set within your AI to prevent data to being shared on your model that you're using, but also to give the teacher, but also the learner, the tools to know what not to put on. For example, when they prompt and when they put data in their ChatGPT model, what not to put on it, but also how to control it. For me, here key is AI literacy. And this should be a intentional drive to make teachers aware, but also learners aware, because they are running in front, but also the parents. I think it's all that needs to be literate in terms of how to use it safely. Thank you, Doc.
Thanks, Bud. Gabi?
Sure, thank you. So I want to sort of unpack your question and kind of say, what do we mean by responsible and ethical? And I often, we speak a lot about this at Mindjoy with the educators we're working with. But ethics is a complex question, especially in a context like South Africa, where we have lots of people from different backgrounds and different realities. And often the question is, you're saying, whose ethics? And again, we have to go to what end. So I think there's a lot of the debate is rooted in this idea that ethical use of AI is to not use AI for plagiarism. And I am afraid that we'll be wasting a lot of our time on this debate if we are trying to police the use of AI. Whether you like it or not, almost every student, they don't need access to the internet. They have an AI through WhatsApp. Okay, every single student that uses WhatsApp, and we can debate about access in terms of computer labs and that kind of thing. But most of our youths are on WhatsApp. They use WhatsApp data bundles. The other interesting data piece I like to cite is the massive fast-growing adoption of TikTok in our youth population. So between your 16 to 24 bracket of young people, we're one of the fastest adopting youth adoption of TikTok. And so there is our young people are using technology, they are, and that is the reality. Our research, and we've been working with the universities, which tells us something interesting about how people are using AI, is this mindset of a one-shotting of they ask a question, or they get the AI to do their homework for them, or to do an assignment for them, and that's it. They kind of do this one-shot prompt, then they're done. There is no productive back and forth. That's how most people kind of use AI. They kind of use it to do things they don't want to do. And so I think actually what you're seeing is this insight into a much bigger societal question, which is, what things do we want humans to do, and what things do we want machines to do on our behalf? Are we sure? And I think this is where our academic community really matters a lot, which is, are we sure that we're not offloading important cognitive tasks to systems that we actually need people to be, developing and thinking critically about? So critical thinking matters tremendously. And I think Prof. Curlin has been commenting in the chat a lot about just like even developing thinking skills and logic and all of that, even in unplugged coding environments. Those are the foundations to good thinking. But the other thing that's really, really important is to say that with the adoption of AI, right, young people adopting AI, there is a very, very important need for us to engineer communities of learning around what it means to be a motivated, interested, skilled young person that has purpose and meaning to contribute to society and work on society's problems. Like, actually, we're facing a much, much bigger question around AI, which is that is a moral question or an ethical question, which is, what are we doing to make sure that our young people do not feel that they do not have purpose, or that there is no reason to learn anything in a world where machines can produce outputs that are indistinguishable from human output? That's actually the big societal question we need to grapple with, and make sure that we're engineering communities where young people feel purpose and motivation to leverage technologies and tools, and to want to contribute to society. That, I think, is actually, that is the big ethical question we need to be taking into our organizations.
Wow, thank you so much, Gabi. Mr. Kavuma, please round it off for us, please, kind sir.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Stofile. And I really appreciate this particular platform because it does create awareness of what is going on out there. Because sometimes when people are not aware of what is going on or what is being done, especially from DBE side, the assumption is that nothing is happening. The first thing probably where I would start is in terms of the guidelines that have been developed by the School Safety Directorate at the DBE, which speaks on e-safety. It says e-safety guidelines. And these have been developed, this whole initiative has been developed in partnership with various stakeholders. It's not in isolation that the DBE has sat down and done something on its own, but it's a group of stakeholders or interested parties or role players who have come together, quite a number of them, in terms of developing a comprehensive, what we call e-safety guidelines. And the whole of last year, they were moving from one province to another as a team, holding workshops and trying to mediate these particular guidelines so that there is a clear understanding at the provincial level among those who are implementers of e-education or digital education, to make sure that this actually does go right down to the grassroots levels. So that's one thing, and the guidelines are there already for schools and also for provinces in terms of this particular aspect. The other aspect in this regard is around the issue of digital competencies. We believe that each technology is not going to be treated on its own, but we treat it our approach is a comprehensive approach where we look at the digital ethics, for example. We look at cyber safety, the cyber safety, and we look at responsible use. So it's a comprehensive, we are not treating, like, for example, isolate maybe AI and then isolate something else, but we treat it as a comprehensive approach in terms of when we're looking at how do we then protect our learners and our teachers when they are in cyberspace. This is covered under digital competences in pedagogy, and as teachers are using technology in teaching and learning, there is no specific a moment where they say, okay, now our learners, we are going to teach you about cyber safety. No, as they teach, as they use technology in teaching and learning, they integrate the issue of cyber safety, of digital etiquette, and so on and so forth, responsible use. They integrate it in their lessons, not treat it separately as a separate topic as such. And that is, of course, the way even the issue of integrating technology in teaching and learning takes place, is that it's not a subject or that is taught on the side, but as you teach your history, as you teach your natural science, you integrate technology. And as such, you also integrate the issue of cyber safety. And that's what these all workshops were really about. I think I'll stop there, Dr. Stofile. Thanks.
No. Thank you so much for that comprehensive response, Mr. Kavuma, as well. Sure, this is quite a heated conversation. I need to take off my tie. Colleagues, just to all the attendees or the participants, please do make sure that you post your email address on chat so that we are able to share the webinar report with all the stakeholders. So anyone who is attending or who is participating in this webinar, please just type your email address, because I think it's quite critical that you have also these written reports around the questions that have been posed here. Let me just dovetail back to Dr. Matebese. This question is specifically for you. It's a relatively long one, so just please bear with me. recognizing that effective collaboration is essential for developing a sustainable 4IR talent pipeline. What specific strategies can be employed to foster robust and productive partnerships between government, industry, and educational institutions, ensuring that training programs are closely aligned with the evolving 4IR job market demands, and leveraging the strengths of initiatives like your learning factory?
Okay. Having two screens is part of disadvantage of technology and finding a click. Sorry about that. I think just to be brief on that, I'll repeat again. I think collaboration is a cornerstone of building any sustainable 4R pipeline, as it requires an effort from all stakeholders, be it the education, the industry, the community, and to foster a robust and productive partnership. I believe we can follow a few strategies like the role of government in terms of policy framework, developing clear policies. And I think they've mentioned Mr. Kavuma about some of the policies that they are currently developing or that are existing, and also funding and investment. So I think allocating funding to support collaborative initiatives. There is current funding, for instance, through the CSIR or the Department of Higher Education. But I think when such funding comes, it goes to certain institutions which doesn't allow that supportive, collaborative or framework. Also, research projects that are South African, that address South African challenges. I think we've been talking more about what the other countries, developed countries, are doing as opposed to us. And I've seen in the chat, someone was saying other countries are even considering 5IR, and we are still trying to understand the fourth industrial revolution on its own. So I think having research projects that are aligned with some of our challenges in terms of how we can then solve them using the 4R technologies or tools. And also infrastructure development. I think we did see there are a lot of facilities, and one of the speakers did mention revamping TVET infrastructure as well, so that they can have some of these technologies. And I think I would like to also emphasize that I think with fourth industrial revolution, it's not about the technologies, I think, as we've seen, because you might have the coolest robot in your facilities, but you need to try to make sure how is it integrating or enhancing your focus areas within that education sector, or in terms of industry, how is it enhancing your business and that. And looking into that, we're not only looking at the people that will be decision makers, but also looking at the people and how they can adapt to these technologies as they will be the one using them. And then the second one is the role of industries. I think currently there might be a disconnect between what the education institution is doing and what industry is doing. And there's always a misalignment in terms of what the amount of students that are being trained and sent to industry. And when they get there, you find that they don't have the practical, or they're not familiar with the machines or technologies that are used in the industry. So I think just making sure that we communicate, or there's that collaboration between industry and education, to say you don't train or produce 100 AI programmers, whereas industry only needs 2, or then after doing the course, the students stay at home and they are unemployed. So just the balance with that. And also the curriculum input, actively participating in designing and developing training programs to ensure relevance. Because I think now usually they wait 4 years or 2 years for QTCO to update the curriculum, and in some private institutions, they are way ahead as compared to government institutions in terms of integrating and moving with the times, especially that the technologies changes every day. And I think as the CSR or CSR learning factor as well, our role in facilitating, I think, acting as a neutral platform to bringing together the government, the industry, and the education system, and making sure that these strategies can be implemented and creating a dynamic ecosystem, I think, in trying for everyone to work together and equipping individuals with skills that they need to thrive in 4R. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. No, I think I should come and sit in the learning factory. There's a lot of things that I need to absorb. Colleagues, I would not be doing justice if I don't speak about inclusion, because I don't want this to just be a matter of maybe that is only addressing those that are typically called the mainstream type learners. So my question then would be, how can technology be used to personalize learning experiences and to cater for diverse needs of South African learners? Okay. We can start with Mr. Kavuma, and then Mr. Don, then Dr. Matebese, and then Gabi.
Thanks, Bill. Our thinking as DBE, especially the minister, is that technology can do a lot in terms of mitigating some of the issues and the challenges that are found, especially in some of the schools, in some of our schools. What we have done, the strategy that has been developed that I was talking about, the digital education transformation strategy that we have developed, actually advocates in literally every chapter. It advocates for the issue of universal and equitable access. It is stressed the issue of making sure that everything is either universal, or you can say equitable access to digital content, equitable access to connectivity, equitable access to devices or fit for purpose devices. This is stressed in all digital resources that are being provided to schools. There must be equitable access. And this, of course, has been a result of quite a number of reports, especially the report that was produced, I think, 2 years ago on technology use in South Africa. That is the UNESCO Global Education Monitoring report on technology. In that during COVID, there was a lot of it was blatant that there was a huge digital divide. So what we are doing is that we're making sure that the strategy that has been developed actually stresses this. The second thing still in the strategy is that there is a whole chapter. We've been requested to put a whole chapter, and that whole chapter is about prioritization of underserviced schools. That each and every province must prioritize underserviced schools, underserved schools. And here we are talking about schools like the rural schools, rural farm schools. We're talking about small, non-viable schools. We're talking about special schools, schools of learners with disabilities. Very, very important. Because technology can make a huge difference in their lives. And others are, for example, schools that are found in informal settlements. These need to be prioritized because they've been lagging behind in terms of providing them with the technology that they need. The technology that they need is, for them, it's even more special in that they are facing contextual challenges. And those contextual challenges that they have actually can to a great extent be mitigated by technology. While other schools, which for example, if I may call up them, not affluent schools, but other schools that have got technology, where you have your adaptive learning, personalized learning, and so on and so forth. These are the underserved schools. Actually, for them, it is challenges are at a different level. Not just about personalized learning, but for them it's about access to resources, access to textbooks, access to teachers, because they have fewer teachers, and that kind of thing. So you need to have technology to actually mitigate those contextual challenges. It's not just about personalized learning or adaptive learning or so on and so forth, but for them it is at another level. So the strategy that has been put in place actually stresses the issue of prioritizing these schools. I think I'll stop there, Dr. Sophie. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Kavuma. Mr. Don?
Thank you, Doc. If I focus just briefly on Western Cape, in terms of the strategies that we have in place, specifically to make sure that we have equitable access to all of our schools, metros to rural. And I think in a sense but in the Western Cape, we have connectivity, which is key. If we want learners to experience more than just their world, then connectivity is key for all schools. And I think that is one of the key things that we need to focus on as well. In the Western Cape, we are a privilege. Most of our schools, the majority, let me say, above 70% of our schools might be connected or more in terms of infrastructure-wise. Might not always be the fastest or the quickest internet, but there is some sort of connectivity. Now, if we look at our rollout strategies in terms of how do we make sure our rural schools, they don't have internet connectivity, they don't have computer labs, are not excluded. If I recall 2 or 3 years back, we rolled out specifically for 179 plus schools, rural schools specifically, mobile devices with a teacher laptop as well, specifically looking at a mobile solution which learners can take with pre-loaded apps already loaded onto the tablet, which was strategically done looking at what the initiatives, what we're going to do with those tablets, what we're going to use it for. But it's not just giving the tablets, but also having a strategy to make sure the teachers are on board, the management is on board. So we also have an ICT adoption strategy where we make sure that management sees how we will use e-learning, how it can benefit from a managing position to a teacher to the learner. I think it is a whole buy-in that we need to look at it, because it's a mind shift when we look at that. But then it's also we need to look at high tech, low tech, and look at coding and robotics in the AI space, where we look at either go unplugged, preload Scratch or downloaded Scratch on devices, how we can use it in that sense. For the teacher, specifically in AI, the question came up, I think, a few days back. My learners are in a rural school. They don't have connectivity. They're not able to experience ChatGPT and anything, and many of those LLMs. How will they get exposure? But it doesn't stop the teacher to use it and showcase and talk about it and advocate those technologies to the learners as well. We just need to find ways that we can actually communicate it. And I want to latch on, I think, what the previous speaker mentioned is community resource models, where if we have centers of excellence. So what we have started this year was establishing STEAMEC hubs. So specifically in our rural schools, and now in ECK we have 3, because those schools are very far apart. The purpose of those hubs is to make sure those schools, those 20 schools in that surrounding area, have a place they can come to when we have expos, where we have technology, when we have a coding and robotics competition, but that they get exposure to those 10 or 20 schools around this specific school. But it's not exclude, it's finding ways how we can move ahead and not standing still and throw our hands up in the sky and say, we don't have it. but look at alternative ways of getting our kids and getting momentum and getting kids exposure to that. I'm going to stop there, Doc. I have another few to mention. I'm going to stop there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Dunn. Gabi, we've got just a few more minutes and then we'll round up the session. Can I just
Skip me.
Oh,
Sure.
Dr. Matebese, sorry. Sorry.
All right. I think I'll go back to my initial point. I think about one of the offerings that we have, or the strategy or frameworks that we're looking into at the CSR, which is the mobile, I think, learning factories. I think, as Mr. Ashric is saying, I think bringing some of these technologies to the kids in the rural areas can be key, as they're not exposed or they are far from the key or the cities. I think it's one of the things that we saw. It's a need, and with that, just to also spark the interest of them in terms of seeing what is a robot, even if it's a small thing. And in most cases, you don't even need the largest gadgets or the coolest gadgets, just need to be more creative in ways of introducing some of these far technologies without breaking the bank. Because I think that's one of the limitations with these technologies and tools, because some can be so expensive to purchase, especially say for rural areas or for kids, considering the infrastructure, the security, connectivities and all. So I think we can use simple things like your Legos, and I think in robotics for basic education, they use Scratch, I think, for coding as well. So looking into ways on how we can use simple solutions in creating this. And I think for South Africans, we are more creative and we have that innovative in our blood. So not necessarily looking to the biggest gadgets or technologies, but using what we have and ensuring that whatever we're creating or we're teaching the kids is also aligned with their daily challenges that they have in that specific areas, which will also spark interest in them seeing how these technologies can solve their stuff, and not leaving teachers behind, of course, because I think they're the one that needs to transfer the knowledge as well. So just to seeing how everyone can adapt to it. Using online resources, open source tools, and teachers can also, I think, learn in the cases where there are no connectivities or offline solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. Gabi, last minute.
Sure. I'll kind of come in here with a little bit of a spiky point of view on this, but I think if we want to go back to the idea that we have a leapfrog opportunity, then we really have to look at our context from first principles. And so I think mobile is a tremendous opportunity for us. You're not going to see the same kind of innovation, you know, in the global north as you will in the global south with the potential of mobile. In the same way as financial services and fintech, we were, you know, the African continent led fintech because, well, specifically with mobile innovations. And I think that's, we can take many lessons there in terms of opportunities for education and mobile learning. The other thing I think we have to really ground ourselves in is the opportunity of challenge-based learning. So really being deliberate about the outcomes we want to drive and to figure out how do we get there quickly. Because if we go and we say, okay, well, in order to have good learning, you must have textbooks, you must have this, you must have that, and you have the sort of old model, old paradigm, we're going to still be playing catch up. But if we go, what do we want to do? What do we have? And what's the gap? What are the opportunities? We're going to create new ways of doing and be leaders. So I really believe in thinking through problems from first principles. And then I really want to encourage everyone to move towards student-centric pedagogies and methodologies that are rooted in student motivation and agency. And that is fundamentally helping young people shift their mindsets from this idea that I must go somewhere to be educated versus I'm in charge of my own learning and my future and my contribution to society. That is the fundamental mindset we need to be able to facilitate. And so I'll just leave it at that. But I really think if we want to transform society, we've got to focus on student-centric methodologies and pedagogies.
Thank you so much, Gabi. Colleagues, this was an interesting. I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the segment. Just some closing remarks from my side. I think I'm quite excited to hear that, from industry to higher education to basic education, there is a lot of alignment. And I was quite happy to also hear some of the innovations that are done across South Africa, is that we're all not too far apart. We just need to speak together. We just need to not compete, but to complement that which works. Because as I was listening to Ashric speak about what's happening in the Western Cape, you find that even in the Eastern Cape, we have something called the C3 server that Mr. Kavuma was quite instrumental in helping us get, in terms of what happens to the schools that are completely remote, the rural deep schools that don't have connectivity. How do we ensure that we're prioritizing the learner in those villages? So the Eastern Cape commits to finding solutions for those type of environments, because if it works in the deep rural environments, it will work also in the urban environment. So we're putting the learners first. We're investing in education focused technologies. We're not buying technology for the sake of technology because we want to feel relevant, but we need to do a robust R&D in order for us to ensure that does this actually achieve the educational opportunities that we are envisaging. But colleagues, we could spend the whole day speaking about this, because this is an exciting and in tune or in season type of a conversation that we need to have. But thank you so much to my panel members. I really, really, really do appreciate your presence and the opportunity to engage. To those that are in attendance, please do make sure that you have posted your email address on chat, so that we will be able to collate the report, so that you have access to the feedback. And any question that has not been attended to, it will be sent to you in writing. So everyone will be able to have access to all questions and all responses. With those few words, colleagues, thank you so much. I would like to now hand over to Dr. Moreau from the Parliament of South Africa, just to give us a way forward and just a vote of thanks. So thank you so much to all of you colleagues. It was really, really exciting. So over to you, Doc.
Thank you very much, Program Director, distinguished government officials, CSIR and education gurus, Parliament researchers, community experts, and participants from across the country. On behalf of the Education and Recreation Cluster in Parliament, under the esteemed leadership of Senior Researcher Mrs. Linda Stoffile, the Division Manager of the Parliamentary Research Unit, Dr. Leon Gabriel, and the dedicated team of Parliamentary Research Unit, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for your presence and valuable contributions to today's important dialogue on the impact of technologies on the education sector. Our sincere thanks go to the keynote speakers and panelists who have offered thought-provoking insights. Sorry, something just popped on my screen, Program Director. Yes, so who have offered thought-provoking insights into how technology is reshaping pedagogy, expanding access and challenging traditional models of teaching and learning. Your expertise has illuminated both the opportunities and the structural gaps that require urgent policy attention. We also appreciate the active participation from the broader public, whose questions and reflections ensure that this was not only a top-down discussion, but one that is inclusive and rooted in lived realities and experiences. As custodians of public interest, we trust that today's discussions will inform legislative reviews, resource allocations, and oversight mechanisms that prioritize future education systems in South Africa and Africa at large. And as we move ahead, this dialogue must inform practical outcomes, focusing on the following key pillars. One, policy review. Parliament must proactively initiate and accelerate the review of education-related legislation to ensure that it is fully aligned with the demands of digital transformation and equitable access to learning technologies. Second to that, Program Director would be an outcome on public-private partnership. Government departments should actively explore collaborative partnerships with key private sector and civil society in efforts to bridge the gap in respect to the digital divide, especially in, as you mentioned earlier, program director, under-resourced communities or remote communities. Thirdly, should focus on AI and digital literacy. Mr. Kavuma and Mr. Dawn emphasized that targeted investments are needed to ensure learners and educators are adequately prepared to Therefore, Program Director, like to encourage everyone not to see today's session as the end of the conversation, but as a starting point for sustained, inclusive, and transformative action.